How could he possibly get away with it for so long? It's just unthinkable. A father who kept his daughter locked away in a secret chamber for 24 years. The poor girl.
A source tells them a teenager approached a woman walking her dog this afternoon, screaming a man murdered her parents. Minutes later, at 4:43 p.m. today, Jamie Kloss was identified.
Between 2002 and 2004, school bus driver Ariel Castro kidnapped 3 women and held them prisoner in the Tremont neighbourhood of Cleveland, Ohio. They were to be his sex slaves.
In the shadows of our world, there are stories so twisted, so chilling, that they seem almost unreal. Yet, these horrors are very real, and they continue to haunt us long after the victims are freed. Imagine being trapped in a basement for years, your life stripped away, your freedom stolen by someone you should trust. This was the fate of Elizabeth Fritzl, held captive by her father for 24 years in a cold, dark cellar. Or consider the terror of Jamie Kloss, a young girl who watched her parents slaughtered before being dragged into the wilderness and locked away for 88 days, alone with the predator. Then there's the unimaginable suffering of Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina De Jesus, held hostage in a house in Cleveland for over a decade. Their torment was hidden from the world until their desperate cries for help shattered the silence. These are stories of survival, but at what cost? Today we dive into the most disturbing kidnapping cases in history and the unimaginable darkness they left behind. Imagine being trapped in darkness for 24 years. Your life completely controlled by a monster hiding in plain sight. Tonight, we dive into one of the most disturbing true stories ever told. A tale of unimaginable betrayal, relentless suffering, and a secret that shook the world. The year was 1984, in the small town of Amstetten, Austria. 18-year-old Elizabeth Fritzl vanished without a trace. Her family and the world believed that she had run away, leaving behind only a letter claiming that she joined a cult, but the truth was far more sinister. Elizabeth's father, Joseph Fritzl, had spent years meticulously building a secret cellar beneath their family home. This was no ordinary basement. It was a fortress of horror, soundproofed and hidden from the outside world. It was here, behind this door, that Elizabeth's nightmare began. Trapped underground, Elizabeth's life descended into a relentless cycle of fear and despair. Her father, the man meant to protect her, became her captor, subjecting her to daily abuse. Each passing day blurred into the next, a living nightmare with no end in sight. Over the next 2 decades, Elizabeth gave birth to 7 children in that cramped, suffocating space. The cellar became a prison of horrors, a place where laughter was forbidden, sunlight a distant memory, and hope flickered dimly in the oppressive darkness. 3 of her children never saw the outside world, their lives confined to the shadows of their mother's captivity. Above ground, Joseph maintained the facade of a normal family man. To the outside world, he was unremarkable, even kind. But below, his heinous secret festered. A monster in disguise, he manipulated and controlled every aspect of his family's lives. Despite the horror, Elizabeth fought to protect her children, teaching them to read and write with scraps of paper, trying to create a semblance of normalcy in the hell that they called home. But every moment was a reminder of their captivity, every sound from above a cruel reminder of the world that they could never reach. When one of Elizabeth's children, 19-year-old Kirsten, fell gravely ill, Joseph's meticulously constructed web of lies began to unravel. Desperate for medical help, he allowed Kirsten to be taken to the hospital, but her condition raised immediate suspicion. Emaciated, pale, and clearly neglected, Kirsten's very existence was a puzzle the doctors could not ignore. When police uncovered the cellar and freed Elizabeth and her children, The world was horrified. The air was thick with the stench of decay and despair. The true extent of Joseph's crimes, the abuse, the deception, the decades of captivity, stunned everyone. Joseph Fritzl was arrested and sentenced to life in prison, but the damage he inflicted was irreversible. The scars, physical, emotional, and psychological, will haunt Elizabeth and her children for the rest of their lives. F*** you, Joseph Fritzl. I hope you burn in hell. You never deserve children. What would you guys do if the person you trusted the most became your worst nightmare? Imagine being ripped from your life in the dead of night, your family slaughtered, your world shattered, and you're left in the hands of a predator. This is the terrifying true story of Jamie Kloss, a 13-year-old girl whose life was torn apart by unimaginable horror, a story that will haunt you long after you hear it. On October 15th, 2018, in Barron, Wisconsin, Jamie Kloss's life would change forever. It was just before 1 a.m. when a masked man broke into her family home. That man was Jake Patterson, a 21-year-old who had been stalking Jamie for months before this night. Armed with a shotgun, he stormed the house, killing Jamie's parents, James and Denise Kloss, in cold blood. Jamie heard the gunshots. She knew something terrible was happening, but she had no idea how bad it would get. Patterson didn't just want to kill her parents, but he wanted Jamie too. He'd been planning this for months, watching her, learning her routine, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. After executing her parents, Patterson forced Jamie to leave the house. With her hands bound, she was dragged out into the night. Jamie was terrified. Her whole entire world was now reduced to the terror of one man's twisted obsession. Patterson drove her to his remote cabin in the woods, miles from any help. There she would be trapped for 88 days, held captive and forced to endure unimaginable abuse. Inside the cabin, Jamie was locked away, isolated from the world. She was forced to stay under a bed, hidden away like a secret he would never let out. Patterson was a man with a plan, and he wasn't going to let her go. He told her she could never leave, that he would kill her if she tried. Every day the isolation took a toll on Jamie's mind, but she remained strong, determined to survive. Then, on January 10th, 2019, nearly 3 months after being taken, Jamie saw an opportunity. Patterson left the cabin for a brief moment. She knew that this was her chance. Gathering every ounce of courage she had left, Jamie ran, barefoot, through the snow and ice, through the woods and towards freedom. Jamie found a woman walking her dog in the woods. She was rescued and immediately called police. Jamie's escape was a miracle, a brave young girl overcoming unimaginable fear and trauma to get help. Authorities quickly arrested Jake Patterson. He confessed to the brutal killings of Jamie's parents and her abduction. His chilling motives were revealed. He believed that Jamie was his chosen one, someone who he was meant to take, someone he was obsessed with. Patterson had no connection to the family. He simply picked them at random. For months, he had kept her locked away, hidden from the world. Patterson was sentenced to 2 life sentences in prison without the possibility of parole, but his punishment will never undo the damage, psychologically and physically, that he caused Jamie Kloss. Jamie Kloss is a survivor. After being rescued, she faced a long road to recovery, but she showed the world her true strength. She gave interviews, spoke at events, and found the courage to reclaim her life. Her story is one of resilience and a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope can still shine through. The story of Jamie Kloss is not just one of horror, but of survival. It's a story of a young girl who endured the unthinkable and emerged stronger, forever changed but determined to live her life. While her parents were taken from her, Jamie's survival is a beacon of hope in the face of evil. Sometimes it's not just the darkness that defines us, but the strength that we find to fight through it. Jamie Kloss will always be a symbol of that strength. Behind this unassuming door lies one of the most chilling cases of captivity and abuse in modern history. Tonight, we uncover the horrifying story of Ariel Castro and the women who endured over a decade of unimaginable torment. The story begins in Cleveland, Ohio, where young women vanished without a trace. Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina De Jesus were all abducted between 2002 and 2004 by Ariel Castro, a man that they thought that they could trust. But his kindness was a mask, hiding the monster beneath. Michelle Knight was the first to disappear. She had been on her way to a custody hearing when Castro offered her a ride. What awaited her was a nightmare beyond comprehension. A house transformed into a prison, equipped with chains, locks, and rooms designed to trap and torment. Within months, Amanda Berry and Gina De Jesus were also abducted, each tricked by Castro's familiarity. Amanda, just 16 years old, was on her way home from work. Gina, only 14, was a close friend of Castro's daughter. To them, he seemed safe, but once inside, there was no escape. Castro subjected the women to relentless abuse, physically, emotionally, and psychologically, including rape and torture. Days turned into years as they endured starvation, beatings, and unspeakable assaults. He used manipulation and fear to maintain control, reminding them daily that escape wasn't possible. In 2006, Amanda gave birth to Castro's child, forced to deliver in captivity with no medical help. The baby became a source of hope and a painful reminder of their reality. Despite the horrors, the women formed an unbreakable bond, supporting each other in their darkest moments. All the while, their families held on to hope. Amanda's mother never stopped believing she would return, while Gina's parents continued to search tirelessly. But Castro hid in plain sight, attending vigils, offering condolences, and maintaining the illusion of a normal life. For over a decade, Castro's House of Horrors remained undetected. The women's lives were reduced to a cycle of suffering, each day blurring into the next. But in May 2013, everything changed. On May 6th, Amanda Berry seized a moment of opportunity, breaking through a door that Castro had left unsecured. She screamed for help. Her cries were heard by a neighbor, who immediately called the police. What followed was the unraveling of a nightmare. The women were finally freed, their decade-long nightmare exposed to the world. The details shocked everyone. The chains, the boarded windows, the stories of abuse. Castro was arrested and quickly confessed, showing no remorse for his heinous crimes. Ariel Castro was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years, but his reign of terror ended just months later when he was found dead in his cell. Justice, however, did little to erase the trauma he inflicted. Today, the women have rebuilt their lives, their strength and resilience inspiring millions. But their story remains a haunting reminder of the hidden darkness that lurks in plain sight. What are your thoughts on these harrowing stories? Share them in the comments below and let me know if there are any other cases you'd like me to uncover. Remember to stay safe, stay aware, and never stop searching for the truth. If you found this video informative or entertaining, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Journey.amygdala here reminding you, embrace the journey that feels your fear.